The halo, which is the first fly I'm going to start with, is really just a pheasant tail with some different things that added to it and different techniques that go into it. The first thing that you're going to notice is I'm going to be tying it with what we call primrose, or actually a light kale is the actual name of the material when you buy it, but a very, very pale colored thread. And we're going to use this for a reason. I want to use this to actually block out the color of the hook bleeding through. Now, in the 6 to 7 o'clock session that we did, I mentioned that when you use white thread, it's not an optional that you want to try, because white actually goes transparent when you work with it. This has a pigment in it that does not allow it to go transparent. So it's a great thing to use underneath. Also, I'm going to be using plain old pheasant tail, just like a pheasant tail nymph. Also, I'm going to be using peacock curl, but when you see some components, and I will point it out to you as we go along in this fly, you can actually use beads, either pearl or emerald green, very, very effectively on this pattern. I'm also like to mention to everyone to whenever you go out and buy peacock curl, never buy it strung in a bag. Stick. Get this. Don't get the other stuff. You've got total control of what the material is, especially if you get the full length stick. You can get really thick, fluffy stuff near the top or skinnier stuff down near the bottom. And it's 10 times better quality. Plus, if you ever want to do a traditional dry fly like that one classic Catskill tie that I had in the slideshow, this section right in here, the eye, it's the feather to use for it. You take it out, you hit it with a rubber eraser, or like actually one of those plastic, like a Mars Staedtler eraser, and get all the flue off of it, and everything's cool. Also, I'm going to use a lot of this stuff. Crystal Flash. Now, I showed a lot of people, again, before, whenever you have a bag of material like this, don't take it out of the bag. Just cut holes in the bag and then pull it out from the ends. It's a lot cleaner and neater, and you don't have to worry about stuff falling all over the place. Your significant other will truly thank you for that one. So we'll start with the fly, and I'm just going to use a Tiemco 2487 midge style hook, midge or emerger style hook, and I'm going to do it fairly large just so that everyone can get a chance to see it. But I tie this pattern, the halo that is, down to about sizes size 20. I'll take them way down. Oh, come on, there we go. Wait a minute, did I get the right one? No way. Okay, hold on just 1 second here. Okay, we'll just do this. Flatten the barb. Put this little puppy in the vise. I'm going to attach the thread. Now you will notice that as I go along and work with this material, or tie the fly all evening long, I will constantly be sitting here spinning the thread counterclockwise. A lot of times it'll be off camera, but if there's a hesitation, you'll understand that that's probably what I'm doing. Why do I do that? Every time you wind with a thread bobbin, you're putting a half a turn of twist with every wrap that you make. I am constantly going through and unspinning that to take the twist out. I want this thread for any fly, regardless, because I use 8/0 for virtually everything, including those great big Atlantic salmon flies you saw in the presentation. I want this material as flat as I possibly can get it. It'll hold better, longer, stronger, with less bulk, and I can come in and do loose loop techniques and actually move the thread around wherever I want it and grab here, over here. It's just a lot easier to work with. Now I'm going to grab my scissors, and I generally wear the scissors in my hand so that they're always with me whenever I've got them. It's also an extra finger, and I'm going to use about 5 or 6 strands of material with this larger hook. A small one I'd only use 3. And like any pheasant tail, I'm going to treat this where I do not cut off the butts. I'm going to fold them back, and I'm actually going to use them for the thorax later on. So we're just going to tie this in. Again, I have control because that thread doesn't have any twist in it, so I can actually do whatever I want to do. A couple of turns up, pull the butts back, come back down. Now this is going to be the body, and it's also going to be the wing case. Now I'm going to wind on up to where the thorax will begin. And I'm going to grab a couple of strands of pearl crystal flash. I use several different colors on this pattern for this. I actually will use the fluorescent green crystal flash in combination with dyed olive. Whatever it is. Thank you, pheasant tail. I also will use bright orange with the natural, and it really, really works well. Now, here's a technique that a lot of you were surprised by at the beginning tonight. So what I'm going to do is, this is how we attach easily materials to a vise or to a hook. I'm literally going to reach through from the back side. I'm going to grab the materials and push it again. I'm pushing away on the thread and right into position. It's ready to go. All I have to do is a couple turns to lock it down, and I'm done. I'm going to wind down and back, and again, with the light colored thread underneath, this actually will be nice and bright when it gets wet. It will not allow the hook color to discolor this when it's all soaked up and fishing. Okay? I'm going to trim this off, but I'm going to save it because I'm going to come back and use it in a minute in what really is the signature piece of a halo. Hold on just one second. I'm actually prepping something real quickly, and I'll explain in a minute. Okay, now, with all this extra material here, I'm going to kind of stroke it kind of wide, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I've got too much, so I'm actually going to remove a couple of strands, because what I want is I want to separate this, and I want to wide space this. We put that crystal flash down there for a reason, and the whole idea is that I want to be able to get that crystal flash to show through the body material. So I'm literally going to just kind of spread it and weave it across, keeping it flat and allowing that stuff to show through. It's still a little too thick, so I'm going to thread it or spread it out. There we go. And I'm just I'm holding it in place so I can keep it fairly flat. By keeping it flat, it allows me to keep the pheasant tail straight, or flat and spread apart so that the crystal flash shows through. Now I'm going to pull this. This is going to become our wing case, and I'm going to pull it back. And I'm going to break the thread. Just like that. No panic. Just attach again. I have a feeling this is going to happen several times tonight, so be prepared. It happened a couple of times earlier in the evening. The thread is old, and I'm cheap and lazy. Okay, now here's the weird thing. This is what makes this fly a little different. I'm going to grab a little bit extra crystal flash. In fact, just rather than use this, what I saved, I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to take about 2 or 3 more strands of crystal flash. Cut it off. I'm going to fold it in half a couple of times. Trim the ends. And we're going to tie this in just like you would a mayfly spinner wing. Wrap it around here, do some X-wraps, pull it back into position now that I've messed it up. There we go. Oh, come on. I must have a little lump right there. I do. There we go. So now we've created a little mayfly spinner wing for a reason. I'm going to shorten these up a little bit, but we're going to do a real shortening job in a minute. Now I'm going to grab some peacock curl. Who knows how to wrap peacock curl properly? Come on.
Well, the glue, you just do a strand at a time.
Nope, there's even a better way. If you look at a cross section of peacock curl, Zeno, I'm going to use my pad of paper here. I'm going to draw it first for me, and then I'll show it to you. If you're looking at a cross-section of peacock herl, you have quill on one side, the leading edge, and the flue on the other. If you wrap with the flue going forward, every turn you make is going to crush what you just wound. But if you wrap with the leading edge, or the quill, going forward, then every time you wrap, you're just going to be wrapping on top of that bare quill. Now, it's not as dramatic as the way that drawing makes it, but if you look at the quill, the good side, the shiny side, is the side that has the flue. The dark side is the side that has the quill. So if you tie it with the dark side going forward and then wind, then you will get the flue going in the right position every time. And that way you end up with fuller, thicker, nicer bodies. Let me get another piece here that I want. There we go, that's what I want right there. So I'm going to strip off a little of the flue. I'm checking to make sure which side I've got going forward. Let's turn it over. There we go. I'm going to set it in near side towards me. Anytime you tie in a material like this, even if it's like a hack, especially like hackle, you always want to make sure you have a little bare section first. That allows you to get started and make your turns. I'm going to do 1 or 2 turns behind. I'm going to do 1 complete turn all the way around and all the way over to or all the way back to the back side again. If I don't do that, there will be a hole underneath that will show that I missed my wrap. I'm going to wrap 1 or 2 turns in front and tie it off. Trim off the excess. Throw a couple more turns in front. Use my fingernails. Push everything back just a touch because I crowded the headspace. Naughty me. Now I'm going to take the butts and pull them forward, creating a wing case. Set that down. Trim these off. Form a nice, neat little head. Break my thread again. There's enough left in there that I can, I think, actually do this. I did. That thread is really bad. I apologize. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do that's what makes this fly, now it looks like I've got a little mayfly spinner, but what I really want is an emerger. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn this towards you so you can see how the spinner wing is sticking out. And I'm going to stub these back to the point where they just almost flush or just peeking out from the peacock herl. I'm going to do it on the bottom side. And that is the halo. A little bit of flash, a lot of dash, and it's a great, great trout fly. The way I use this fly is I usually in combination with the WD-40, which will be the next fly that I'm going to tie. And I will put this, depending on conditions, I usually put this at the bottom and usually about 1 size or 2 sizes larger than the WD-40. The rig that we were using on the Green River this last summer, because the water was so high, we were using anywhere up to like half or even 5/8 of an ounce worm weights at the very bottom. The fish were way down. And they were actually close to the bank, but because the water was so high, it made everything relative. But we were using the WD-40 on top with 3X or 4X fluoro on about 7 or 8 feet of OX, just single strand all the way down from the fly line, and a huge indicator. So this is a great little pattern, and I really suggest you give it a try. I'll take this off, set it aside so everyone can come up and look at it later.